Hello, this is a lesson in Global Anabaptism on Menno Simons. As you read in your Through Fire and Water textbook, and as you read about the Reformation in Strasbourg in Margaret's print shop, perhaps you're wondering about this man, Menno Simons. If you find Menno in Margaret's print shop, you come and see me. I might have something for you. At one point in Margaret's print shop, Menno visits the print shop. Let me know when you find that vignette in the story. In the second unit in Through Fire and Water, Steve Nolt treats Menno Simons in several pages of detail about his life and his influence. Let me try to give you some ideas why he was different from other reformers in the 16th century. First, Menno didn't have as many writings as some of the other reformers. He had a handful of writings. Menno put together about 25 basically pamphlets, totaling no more than 1,000 pages. Others, like Martin Luther and John Calvin, had time to write many books. In the 16th century, Menno didn't have nearly as many writings, and there were a variety of reasons for that. But this is certainly one way that Menno Simons, 1496 to 1561, was different. Another reason why Menno is different from, say, Martin Luther and John Calvin, or Ulrich Zwingli in Zurich, or King Henry VIII up in England, Menno never led a very large group. The Anabaptists were a persecuted minority. And Menno, who never sat for a portrait in his life, all of the portraits in this stack are made about 2 generations after he died. He did have a beard. He had been a former priest, and he was a scholar. He knew both Latin and Greek, and he attended a graduate seminary for his day. He was from the Netherlands. But Menno never led a very large group, unlike Lutheranism and the Reformed tradition in Switzerland. Third, Menno was not protected by the military. In his writings, in his movement, in his fleeing the authorities, never did Menno have the protection of, say, Frederick of Saxony or the government of Switzerland in the case of John Calvin, or the city council in Zurich with Ulrich Zwingli. Menno was a minister among a small sect of Anabaptists, not protected by the military. Menno believed in a voluntary church, a church that was made up of believers who chose, oftentimes at great risk to themselves, to join the group. In Germany, large areas of Germany became Lutheran simply because you lived in that area, not by voluntary choice. But the Anabaptists chose rebaptism, baptism again, as voluntary believers, which is what is accepted widely in the United States and Europe today. Menno rejected violence. Unlike Luther, who sided with the princes, who enjoyed the protection of the German princes and the emperor, Menno Simons wrote clearly in his writings, and I've read a number of Menno Simons' work, he rejected the role of violence. That is, that the Christian could take up a sword in defense of one's faith or the church. Menno was constantly on the run. By that I mean the emperor placed a 100 guilder bounty on Menno's head. If you would bring Menno in to the authorities, you would get a reward. So Menno kept moving. For the first about 30 years of his life, he was a Catholic priest. He began reading his Bible. He decided to convert to Anabaptism. And then he had to go on the run because he had left the official Catholic Church, and he was hidden and kept by Anabaptists in their homes as he moved from the Netherlands across northern Europe all the way over to northeastern Germany. he called for faith and action. This is unique in the 16th century. Menno Simons said, you can believe in God, but that'll make a difference in your actions and in how you live. We call that a life of discipleship. Our faith in God means something for how we live, that our lives are connected to our faith. Some of the other reformers of the 16th century disconnected faith in God with how one lived. Menno Simons and the Anabaptists said, no, it really matters how you live, not that that's salvation, but that your faith in God means you demonstrate that. One example, the Mennonite Central Committee relief sale, first weekend in October in Rockingham County, Virginia, is an attempt to raise money for relief because many people, especially Mennonites, believe that faith translates into good deeds and relief efforts for others around the world who need our assistance. Menno called his followers to build on the foundation of Christ. Now, Menno on the run, and by the way, this portrait is in Mr. Yoda's classroom here in Harrisonburg, Virginia at Eastern Mennonite School. It's one of my favorite images of Menno Simons. Writing, he was a scholar, studied the Bible, a man on the run, a well-loved pastor, a moderate man who, using 1 Corinthians 3, verse 11, called his followers to build their lives on the foundation of Christ. It's no accident that Joseph Funk in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia wrote the hymn, How Firm a Foundation. We build our lives on the foundation of Jesus Christ. If we build our lives in another way, we're not building on the solid foundation that God calls us to build our lives. And Menno's passion, as is the passion of your pastor, of your teachers at Eastern Mennonite School, is that you would build your life also on the foundation of Christ. As a devotional, look up Menno's favorite verse in 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 11. Thank you very much.